Hey everybody, I just saw this short clip come across my YouTube, and I was so glad that this was out here. I wanted to react real quick to Jordan Peterson talking about just the reality of pornography in our culture. Here we go.
Any 12-year-old boy, 13-year-old boy can now see more beautiful naked women in 15 minutes than the richest king in history ever saw in his whole life. You think, well, we don't have to worry about that. It's like, yeah, you have to worry about that. That's a huge problem. And it's a demoralizing problem because it offers an easy way out.
Oh, man. That is so true. I love how he phrases that it's an easy way out. That's definitely been my experience, and the experience that I've had with a bunch of people that I work with, is that what it all comes down to is, like, you could talk about a lot of things. You could talk about how pornography rewrites the brain. You could talk about how it's just really, really attractive. It's got that really heavy hit and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, it solves problems. It solves problems by masking them, by making us feel good. It's just like really, really easy to go down those paths. My story really runs right alongside the advent of the internet and pornography getting online and all of that sort of thing. And I'll tell you what, my parents certainly, and a bunch of parents that were parenting people about my age, they had no understanding of the kind of spread, the kind of reach that this thing has. And it's like 10 times worse now than it ever was then. Well, 10 times, so much worse now. I mean, with cell phones in the pocket and all that stuff, it's anonymous and available and everywhere, and instantaneous. So, yeah, I love that. So it becomes the thing that solves people's problems. My question becomes, that's a really good winnowing question for our entire spiritual lives. Like, what solves my problems? Does food solve my problems? Does quiet solve my problems? Like, what solves my problems? Because at the end of the day, there's a reality in Scripture we can't get away from, which is God is the solution. But how far we've moved that into our lives will have a great deal to say about how mature we are as believers. Are we? Do I seek these healthy things because of God, because of His value that comes into my life, or do I solve things in a roundabout way? Half solving them, masking them. Am I just getting through life? One of those phrases that just really drives me nuts, and I think this is super applicable here. One of those phrases that really drives me nuts is "fake it till you make it." That whole thing, for one, it drives me crazy because there's an assumption that you should play the game, pretend the game, until you become the person that people think you are. Well, to me, that's a matter of deception. That's deceiving people. That's saying I am this thing, and then they go, "Oh yeah, you are that thing." And it's like, ugh. But then there's also this element, like, of just deceiving not only others but yourself. You're faking it till you make it. So you're playing a part. You're putting on a mask. Christians do this all the time, and I think we need to become more honest with our faith, in the sense that, like, our faith can be young. It's okay for faith to be young and for us to be relatively immature and those kinds of things. It's okay to be figuring things out, because we know that we've got an infinite number of things that we're never going to figure out about this walk. And so instead of shaming where exactly we are, we can come in and get honest about where we are. And a lot of times that creates the real opportunity for faith growth, and that creates the environment where maturity can occur. But of course, what happens if you've got a quick way to feel better and you mask it? It means you never actually grow. I was thinking, if you think about it this way, you can think about the grief cycle, right? When something traumatic happens, say someone dies in your family, you go through this process of denying it, and anger and bargaining and depression, and then at the end comes acceptance. And so there's this cycle that we go through in the grieving process. What does porn do? What does that kind of thinking do? Not just porn, but also food, or maybe it's relationships, or maybe it's actual substance abuse or whatever. What does it do? It takes us around that cycle And then instead of us ever getting to acceptance, we cut from depression back up to denial. Because at the end of the day, pornography gives pornography users an excuse to feel good without having learned the truth that actually makes us feel good. Which actually gives us deep senses of understanding and value and maturity. So anyway, yeah, big deal. And oh my gosh, the fact that you can see more in 15 minutes. Right? That is so true. We have to remember how unnatural an environment we're living in our current culture with current access. It's mind-blowing. I think about, what Christ said, that the eye is the lamp of the body. If the eye is good, your whole body will be full of light. Oh my. Think about what we do. Think about the kind of consumption that we have. Even if we're not talking exclusively about pornography, but we're just talking about the levels of consumption. It's absolutely astronomical, and we know this is true, that stuff comes in and it populates our mind, and that same stuff will come back out in some form. It'll get worked on and all that stuff, and who we are as people will have something to do with how that comes back out. But man, is your eye good? Is it making your body full of light? I'll tell you this. The further I get away from my life where I was struggling with pornography, the more light is in me. It feels good. It feels really good. Anyway, hey, hope you enjoyed this video and just these little reflections on those things. If you have any questions about sex addiction, or if you're a Christian who just really needs to get free, please contact me. Let me know. Also, like and subscribe and all that stuff if you feel like it earned that. But we hope to see you again. And don't forget, you are loved.